Hey, hey, what's up?
Hey, there he is. How are you,
This
man?
technical stuff. I'm a little too old for this technical stuff.
Oh no, man, you got it. You got it. You were faster than Teddy and Babyface, so we're good. We're good.
Right,
You know,
right.
how you been, man?
Man, I feel great. Outside of all of this craziness, all this coronavirus, I
I
feel
know.
great. I'm strong. I'm healthy.
That's good, man. That's good. Are you working from home, or you have still got to go out in the field?
Kind of both. So I do the first 2, 3 hours on my computer at home, and then I got to go out in the field and look at jobs. My good old Verizon 9 to 5.
Right. All right. All right. Well, be safe, man. We need you out here, man. We
Yeah,
gotta get we
yeah.
gotta get this show rescheduled, man. I was so disappointed. We were
Oh
gonna have
yeah.
the inaugural show of Push Play at City Winery, and Corona came and smacked us in the face, man.
Oh man, the tickets. The first week we sold 100 and some tickets. That thing was going to look real good.
I
This
know.
Corona might have messed up my little plan.
No, I didn't mess it up. We're just gonna reschedule it because everybody that's watching here is gonna come when we reschedule it. So nah, no, we're not gonna even speak that into existence. We're gonna have it, and it's gonna be amazing. So real
Right.
quick, because we only got an hour on this thing, so I want to jump straight into it. So can you
Okay.
give anybody or everybody watching sort of your 2 to 3 minute? I know that's a lot because you got a lot of history, but your 2 to 3 minute history in just the entertainment business, go, etc.
Ooh. So somewhere in the early 80s, like 80, 79, I was going to Duke Ellington. Young guys, Troy Smoot, Bobby Smoot had a band called Chance and asked me if I wanted to join their go-go band. Now, this was 79, so go-go really had only been around 3 years. I was like, what is that?
Right.
So I joined the go-go band, and then I moved up in 83, my senior year at Duke Ellington. I had an opportunity to join Rare Essence, the wickedest band alive, and man, I spent 18 years, 19 years in Rare Essence, and it's one of the greatest fraternities in Washington, D.C. It's just a great organization to work for. They allowed me to grow. Early on, I was the saxophone player in the corner of the room. And then as funk started to give me little rap things to do, I started doing this LL Cool J little rap joint. And rap, at the same time, they was as young as we was. And so
Right.
I guess I kind of represented the rap part of go-go. Back then Essence was mostly covering the R&B stuff. And, my role just kind of grew and grew. At some point, Funk left the band, Little Benny left the band, and Lawrence the Maniac left the band. And it was just me and White Boy, and we rolled through the 90s. And I wrote and just kept trying to write because my memory was so bad I couldn't really remember other people's raps. So
Right.
I just started writing my own, and it kind of grew from there. Had an opportunity to sign with a record label when I was with Red Essence, Uptown MCA, run by brilliant young guy Andre Harrell.
And
He
that
had
was Essence that signed, or that was you that signed as
Essence, Red Essence.
okay, yeah.
Had a young guy, Andre Harrell, who had just left uh, Def Jam, started
Yep.
his own label, Uptown, and he brought in a summer intern by the name of Puffy
Mm-hmm.
and Sean Combs, and he got assigned to the Rare Essence project because he was a young Howard University student. And we just played tug of war for we probably played tug of war for 2 or 3 years. And then, we moved on. But while I was there, it taught me a lot about the record business. I had my own record label, me, Foots, Baba, and a guy named Mike Johnson. While we had the record label, we had $55 Motel by Vinny D. We had Stone Cold Hustler by DC Scorpio.
Yep.
We had Boyfriend she was Michelle Johnson then. Now she's Michelle and Diego El Cello.
Yep.
We had a good time. And, somewhere late in the hell, turn of the century. That sounds old to say, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
Turn of the century. Me and Ray Essence bumped our heads a little bit, and it was time for me to go on, move on. And while I was moving on, we started writing some music for an album. And the guys that was together writing the music for the album said, "Hey, man, let's make it a band." So, 911 it was. How much time I got left? So it's
No, you're
911.
good, man. You're good. I say 2 to 3 minutes, knowing that that really means like 10 to 15, but I just
Right,
wanted to, no, you're good,
right.
man. You got a lot of
So
history for sure.
911 was in play. Now, keep in mind, this was January of 2001. And in September, on September 11, 2001, a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. Another plane crashed into the Pentagon. And our name was 911. And
Yep.
so Pops, Chuck Brown said, "Hey, why don't you consider changing the name, because 911 is now
Yep.
a negative thing." So we changed the name to Familiar Faces, and hell, we marched our way through, through the 2000s, and somewhere toward toward the end of it, not the end of it, but somewhere later on down the road, maybe it was 2008. Um, when you Googled the name Familiar Faces, 2 or 3 bands popped up.
Yep.
So we changed the name to Team Familiar. It just seemed to make a little bit more sense, and we was trying to get a national record, so Familiar Faces didn't make a whole bunch of sense. But Team Familiar, we was the only one Team Familiar at the time, so we changed the name to Team Familiar, and hell, we just kept writing music, kept swinging the bat. We never got the hit that we was looking for, but we never stopped trying, and that's what brings me to where I am 40 years later. 40 years later, I hung up my microphone,
Okay.
and that kind of brings me to where I am.
Okay. And so now the new project is Push Play, and it's not GOGO. It's because a lot of people, I see a lot of people, you obviously did a large farewell show at the Anthem,
Hmm.
6,000 capacity venue. So, and I think you did about what, like 4,000. That's super impressive.
It was
Yeah,
somewhere north of 4,000. Good, great
north of
number.
that. Yeah. So, Stevie Wonder, Raheem DeVaughn, all came up and performed. I mean, that's an amazing cap off.
Right.
But a lot of people when we put the show on sale for Push Play, oh, see, I knew he wasn't retiring. You were clear. You were retiring from GOGO. It didn't say you were retiring from music. You're retiring from GOGO. So that brings me to my question, and I'm going to dig back into pieces of that as we go along too, because
Okay.
that's obviously a storied history and career. What made you decide to retire from GOGO?
Well, I thought that it's a couple of things, but for the most part, I felt like my image, I had remade myself 2 or 3 times in GoGo, and I didn't think I could remake myself anymore. At the end of the, well, like when you see Pops play, he was playing R&B and he was singing, you know, and man, he was bobbing his head. He could have did that till he was 100 years old. You know what I mean? That was his
Right.
style. Was laid back. He was singing jazzy songs and stuff like that. But for me, I wanted to be a rowdy 20-year-old rapper. I wanted to
Right. Right.
stand on the speakers and yell and scream. And ultimately, I'm 55 years old, so I just felt like, when I look at it, it just doesn't play well. And ultimately, I just always wanted a hit song, and I looked around, I couldn't find no 55-year-old rapper, with a hit song.
Right.
I was watching some TV show one day, and it was Jodeci or somebody like that, and I'm watching them, and they on the stage, they overweight, they trying to bounce around like like, you know, when they was young guys, and I'm like, man, these guys look awful.
And
And then when I
playing
think about
themselves.
it, shit, that's me. So I said, man, let me exit stage left. I had a man, 40 of the most incredible. I mean, the go-go stories I could tell would boggle the mind. I had incredible stories. I had a great 40 years. And funny enough, man, before it all started, I just wanted to be the saxophone player for Patti LaBelle, you know? And so I said I was quitting go-go. I always said I was going to start an R&B band and be a saxophone player. I'm going to be the old guy sitting in the back with his saxophone, and I'm going to find one of them great singers, and I'm just going to, you know, act like the saxophone player for Patti LaBelle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. And now you got Pam Ward. Close enough. Pretty close.
Oh, close enough, buddy. She's something.
Yeah, real quick for everybody that's watching. So if you have a question for Donnell Floyd or for me, put it in the Q&A section at the bottom, which is the little question marks at the bottom, rather than putting it in the comments. Feel free to comment, but we can't keep up with the questions in the comments because they go too fast. You can also text any questions you have, if you prefer to do that, to 202-410-4843. That's 202-410-4843. Or else put them in the Q&A section with a little question mark at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to the question to the everybody's questions later. So oh yeah, and share. Sorry, my wife / producer has reminded me to tell people to share this live as well, because I don't know when you're going to get more knowledge than this, you know, from GoGo. So make sure you let everybody know, because the goal of these, you know, like I said, the main reason I started these was really just so I have a reason to put on a clean shirt every day, since I have to stay in the house all the time. But I really want to explore, like, I mean, you've known me for a while. You know, my agenda has always been to push GoGo outside of DC and be more than
Right.
more than what it has been. And so, you know, it's important to know where it came from, what the past and what the history is, and you know, and also to speak with people like yourself who have, you know, figured out how to make more of a success out of it than most people have. So why, especially from yourself being, from what I know, the most prolific writer in GoGo, why is it so hard for GoGo bands to write music?
You know, I don't think it is. I don't think it's difficult, but it's such a copycat world. Go-Go used to be probably 70% original, 30% covers. And then, I mean, no disrespect at all, but then Maisha and the Hip Huggers came along.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I remember, yeah.
yeah, and then she was singing 100% covers, and then Listen came along, and they was doing 100% covers, you know, outside of Sunshine, and it was working.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I mean, there's an advantage to covers. We don't have to wonder if you like the song. We know you like the song because it was one of the hottest songs on the radio.
Yeah.
So the only thing we have to do then is just try and cover the song good. And so it made it kind of easy. But writing the song, we gotta share a little bit of who we are, and we gotta hope that you like it. But GoGo has great writers. Michelle Blackwell, her project that she's put out, and she's put out several. But I mean, just amazing writing. Uno, Scooby,
Yep.
you know, people have done great works in terms of writing. Junkyard, Red Essence, has done great writing. You know, it's not some of the songs aren't necessarily traditional songs, you know, 8-bar chorus, 8-bar hook, 8-bar chorus, you know, 8-bar hook. Some of it is a little bit of rough it off, but it's still a song, you know, and it's still a song, and it's a lot of great songs. Killer Cow, 32. You know, we got writers, but we got to be rewarded for the writing. I was lucky enough to have a platform where I was playing, whether I was in Rare Essence or Familiar, 3-4 times a week. So even if you didn't like the song at first, I would just keep on singing it. I would keep singing it every week, and after a while, you're gonna end up liking it. And so, you know, that's an advantage that I had. And you know, to me, go-go is steroids for any music. Sade, Anita Baker, Scarface. When you put that go-go beat underneath, it's gonna raise the value of the song tremendously. And so, you know, I always just wanted to write on top of that go-go beat. I just wanted my words to be, you know, on top of that go-go beat. And you know, we just got to get back to it. We got to find our way back to writing original music and trying it out on the people. And if it ain't right the first week, make your little tweak, make your little changes, try it out a little bit more. Because that's the only way we're going to get to that next level, that next level that we're searching for, that hit, that nominated for the Grammy kind of hit, that, you know, Tonight Show and all of that stuff. We got to write original music, but we got the writers. We just got to, you know, we just got to get to it.
Well, so speaking of the next level, so you talked about, you know, when Rare Essence was signed to Uptown, working with Puffy. What happened there, and why? Like, what did that experience teach you about how go-go is equipped or not equipped to succeed on the national and international stage?
So we got signed to Uptown MCA right after the butt. And so the whole world was bracing for this thing. Like Andre Harrell said it. I mean, he's like, look, if this thing is going to be the next thing, I want to make sure I got me a go-go band, you know? Right. And so, you know, we put ourselves in position, and we had a problem with Uptown MCA because in the contract we had mutual right of refusal, which is, it seems like a great thing, but believe me when I tell you, it's a bad thing. And what it means is if the record company sends us something and we don't like it, we can refuse it. And if we send them something and they don't like it, they can refuse it.
Right.
As I look back on it, that was Puffy. That was Puffy sending us records. And one of the guys that was writing records for us was a guy who had just finished working on the Whitney Houston project. And then one of the Fat Boys, Marky Mark, he had been doing stuff, and you know, Chucky was over there. So we had more than enough opportunity with more than enough people that if we would have accepted some of the stuff they were sending us, you know, but we had that thing back then, and we got some of it now, that whole keep it real, keep it, you know, we wanna don't lose what, man. We should have lost it. We should have did what they asked us to do. Mostly it was probably me. I was an arrogant young guy, you know, still still arrogant. But you know, I was hard-headed, and you know, if we had a chance to do it all over again, I say, man, you know, some of these songs they sending us, it ain't authentic go-go, but it's fly. You know, Jill Scott wasn't authentic go-go, but it was fly. And so we should have accepted some of that stuff. And if it didn't work, we still got us. And we would have been exposed to millions of people. And if it didn't work, they would have got rid of us just as fast as we would have wanted to get out of there. And we would have had the advantage now of having been exposed to millions of people. And so we would have been able to then do our thing.
Right.
So it was just a train wreck. It was a train wreck. But I thought most of it was our fault.
So, so you were talking about when Andre said, if this is the next big thing, I want to be part of it. I want to have part of it.
Right.
Aside from what you just described, what do you think? Why do you think it wasn't the next big thing? What happened? What was it that allowed, I guess, hip hop to sort of overtake go-go on the national and international stage?
There's a couple things, but for the most part, and I love Bear, but they wasn't ready. Like they needed to hold the door open and so that we can slide in, and they wasn't quite ready. I don't know if you would remember, you old enough. They had Doing the Butt, and then they had, and I'm not sure about the order, but they had 4 or 5 songs, Living Large. They had the thing with Salt and Pepper. They had Taste of Your Love, right? But it took them a few years before they even signed with a record label.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they signed with a record label, it just they never really followed the butt up. Like they had 4 or 5 songs that was in the top 10, but they wasn't together. Like, and it just didn't, solidify their position because they was ready, and GOGO was ready. Is the first part of it. The second part of it is when both things was getting started, GOGO in DC and hip hop in New York. Well, commerce is what drives this whole thing. Hey, Malachi, you know this more than anybody, right?
Yes, sir.
And so they selling, an underground song in New York might sell 250,000 copies. And that's going to get the attention of the major labels. In DC, an underground record might only sell 40,000 copies, and that's an incredible hit. And so that just isn't as inviting to the major labels. So the major, I mean, they don't care what 2 monkeys and a chimpanzee. If you selling 400,000 records, they gonna come and get you. They gonna figure out a way of making it work. We just didn't have that kind of support. We didn't sell those kind of numbers, so we wasn't as important as hip hop would have been. But surely, GOGO is greater than hip hop in terms of if you put the blindfolds on and you put the early hip hop on and the early GOGO, and GOGO kills hip hop. GOGO kills everything.
Do you think that, I agree with you 100,000,000%. Do you think that I feel like a lot of the problem with GOGO, and that's what I was asking about the songwriting thing, not the problem with GOGO, but the reason that GOGO hasn't reached a higher plateau is that there's not enough volume. And with hip hop, you can create a much larger volume of records because it's significantly easier to record hip hop than it is to record GOGO, because you got to have 2, 3 dudes in a room and make a hit song. Now with a computer, back then with turntables or whatever, or whatever samplers, and with a band, you have to have a 15-piece band in the studio, which is not only, more difficult in terms of getting everybody to be on the same page, but also significantly more expensive. Do you think that had a lot to do with it, or anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, that whole big band thing is problematic. You got to sign 10 guys instead of signing the 1 guy or the 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always had this other little feeling about the visual part of it. Like, if I'm the kid in Michigan, who do I? It's almost like Menudo. Like, who do I pay attention to? Is it the guy that's talking with the least amount of talent, or is it the guy over there that's singing that's really talented, or and the horns is up front. So it's 5 or 6 or 7 guys up front. they not uniform. They're not the choreography. Visually, um, visually, Gogo was lacking to me behind hip hop, where it's clear, uh, you know, even though this is the Fugees, Lauryn Hill is driving this bus right
Right, right,
here.
right.
And that's the other thing is people just like a star, and who's the star? And
Mm-hmm.
so it was easy for Sugar Bear because he clearly, I
Was
mean,
the
he
star.
stood up front, everybody else was somewhere in the back. He
Mm-hmm.
was clearly the star. He
Mm-hmm.
was the talker, but he was the singer, he was the rapper, he was Little John with the ow, all that. You know what I mean? He was everything. And Gogo has a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think Big G is one of those. I think Miss Kim is
Mm-hmm.
one of those people who just got that personality that just makes you pay attention. Like, you can go see go-go bands and they sound great, but you at the bar drinking, you walking around. But when certain people in go-go step on stage, they make you watch the stage because
Right.
they
Mm-hmm.
draw you in. And that's the other thing it takes. It takes that personality. When Muhammad Ali walks into the room, I don't know who he is, but this guy's somebody,
Right.
And,
That magnet,
that's the
that
other
it
thing,
factor.
that galvanizing figure like Miss Kim is, and like G is, and Bugs Bear,
Is there
the-
anyone that you can identify of that, on the younger side that has that from any of the younger bands that you know of?
So here's the sad here's the sad fact, man, is I almost never uh saw the younger bands. I remember early TCB. Polo was a good dude. I remember because he
Yeah.
would come and see Essence, and but I almost never get a chance to go out. Period. And when that chance comes to go out, I want to see my favorite. I want to see rapper. I want to see
Mm-hmm.
Junk. You know what I mean? I want to see back. I want to see the good old favorites. And
Right.
uh, so I haven't got I very seldom got a chance to go out and see the younger bands. And the younger bands, um, if bounce beat is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if I look at that the same. I look at it differently. I think bounce beat is an incredible energy, an incredible music form, and they're different than go-go. We call them go-go, but I think they're different than go-go. I think when Chuck Brown was going around as an R&B artist, he had enough changes that he had made to the R&B that they named him something else. They named it go-go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that bounce beat has made enough changes to go-go to where there's something else. They're bounce beat. And respect. I mean, what they've created, hell, one of the most incredible financial situations any of us has ever seen, if you paid attention, was
Oh yeah.
Polo and that TCB thing. I
Yeah.
mean, those numbers I mean, I don't know if anybody ever heard of the money, but
Oh,
woo!
I did. I
I
did.
mean,
Trust me.
I mean,
CFE, they had two bands
so
going at one time so they could play in the same
I
place
mean,
on
Polo had a
different places.
deal for the band and a deal for Polo. Like
Yep.
those
Yep.
numbers was unbelievable. And so, I respect Bounce Beat to the fullest. I don't, I don't consider them go-go.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I guess I feel. I mean, my opinion is that it's just a subgenre of go-go. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's hip hop and there's trap and there's whatever, and it's affiliated, but it's definitely its own thing. It doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the swing. It doesn't have the syncopation in the beat. But also feel like if there was ever a chance, if there was ever an iteration or a variation of go-go that had a chance to appeal to a broader audience, it's bounce beat, in my opinion.
No doubt about. I mean, the energy in Bounce Beat. If you if you in the room and you don't want to move, then something is wrong. They definitely got, you know, they definitely got something to be worthy of. But they, like everybody else, they have to find a structure like everybody else. They have to go into the studio like everybody else. They gotta figure out how to present themselves, uniformed or choreographed or however they do it.
Mhm.
They got the same problems that we got. They got to figure it out, and it's not about the money. I don't believe I'm saying that, but it's it's really, you know, you gotta take that chance. If you believe you're the next thing, then you got to spend that money and go into the studio. And not only that, you got to shoot the video. And not only that, you got to pay the person to go into the record store and into the radio stations. And not only that, you got to figure a way to getting all the way down south. I mean, you know, you got to do the Malachi thing. You got to do the thing Malachi did with Mambo Sauce. You
Yep.
got to work it.
Yep. Yep. Why do you think that is so rare in go-go? Why do you think that's just because I mean it's just not even it's just sort of like understood in other genres that like that's what you have to do, but for some reason in go-go it's just like, well, we just want to, and I was just talking to E about this earlier, and I've talked to other people, it's just like, well, we want to be a cover band and we want to put in as much work as a mediocre cover band, then we want to complain that we're not Drake. You know what I mean? Or where did that come from? Like,
You know, it's funny. It's the stuff your pocket thing going on, and you can't do both. Like you gotta save some money for the real thing. And the difference, you know, when we got to Uptown MCA, Jodeci was already there, and they was on the shelf 2 years before we got there, and we left 2 years before they got off the shelf. Meaning they waited for 4 or 5 years, but because they don't have no other thing. Like go-go bands can average anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year. And that's different.
yeah.
Them singers, man, they just singing in the shower. They ain't doing nothing until somebody makes them a star. But go-go, I mean, they making that money, and it's hard for them to see that this money it ain't enough. So, you know, you got to take the position that, listen, I want to be in the world. I want to be where the many millions are, the many, many millions. And it's just a hard thing to see. And so what's happening today is just a split what you get mentality. We make 1,000, we split 1,000. And there's nothing left for anything. There's nothing left for going into the studio. There's nothing left for shooting the video. There's nothing left for any of that stuff. And so that's just the thing that we face with.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. I just don't understand. And I guess it's maybe because, you know, when you know stuff, when you learn stuff, you kind of start to assume that other people know it too. And, you know, in my time at the casino and outside of the casino, like, you know, I booked some of these artists that are not even, like, when I was booking at the casino, like, I was booking, like, Rick Springfield and Boyz II Men, not current artists that are touring stadiums, but artists that have passed their prime that are playing casinos, and they make, like, as much as you just said as a go-go band makes in a year, like, they make that in like 2 or 3 shows, and they might play 50 or 60 shows per year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And granted, yes, it does take significantly more work to get there. You know what I mean? But it's possible. Like, I paid Michael Bolton $150,000 to play in a 500 capacity room in a casino. You know what I mean? But he's got hits. You know what I'm saying? And the financial, you know, calculation is slightly different for a casino. So, you know, the money doesn't come from the ticket sales. The money comes from the gambling. So there's more money to spend. So he doesn't make that much every single place that he plays, but still, you know, so it's just so frustrating to me that a band that is, you know, like most of these guys in these bands have a full-time job. So it's not like you're starving. You know what I'm saying? Where, yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, even the younger guys, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
it's like you're not starving. So it's not like the $150 a night is gonna like make or break you. And I get, you know what I'm saying? Like I get it. I mean, I understand. I've been there too. You know, I was a hired gun in the what band for a while, and it was because I couldn't afford to, you know, to do it if I wasn't making any money. And so I get it, but at the same time, it's just like, when do you, like, I don't have a problem if that's what your mentality is, but then don't complain about not being bigger is my thing, you know?
Listen, I tell you what, man. Hell, you might have shot the last main shot that I've seen in this city with that whole Mambo Sauce thing, and it just reminded me when it went down. You know how really close we are. You, especially the way the world works today. This whole Justin Bieber thing says if you can just get enough hits on a damn YouTube video, you can get your issue. And when Mambo Sauce had the song, and then they followed it up with another song. I mean, you know, and I'm not sure exactly where the wheels came off the track, but it was close. And I've always taken that position that, man, you gotta try. You gotta play the game, but you can't, you know, I mean, you gotta play the game. You can't just think that I'm just gonna go play at Fast Eddie's and I'm gonna get discovered. It
Right.
don't
It
work
doesn't
that
work
way.
that way. Yeah. I
But you
mean, the
gotta
wheels,
spend that
the wheel,
money. And if you spend that money, GOGO is and the song you all had was a real structured song. Boo, one of my favorite go-go rappers. The song was really, I mean, it was perfect. The same way, you know, same way I feel about the Michelle Blackwell project. It was really, really good. And you know, some of that stuff is worthy. And we just gotta make sure we remember that we only a hit away. You know, you're only a hit away.
well, so I want to get to some questions real quick, but on that note, and based upon all of the challenges that we've already discussed, and also based upon the fact that you had a label that put out Vinny D and Gogo, what was it, Gogo Lorenzo? Who was the other one? Was it Gogo Lorenzo?
Go DC Scorpio,
Oh,
Vinny
Scorpio. That's right,
D,
Scorpio. Vinny D.
Romeo, Michelle Cello.
So my question is, because those are artists, not necessarily bands, do you need a band to be Gogo?
I don't think you need a band. I mean, that's where it starts.
There you go.
You need a hit, and that's it. None of those, hell, outside of Gogo, I'm not sure who does what we do. Like, you know, when you see the unsung story, Jaheim was a guy just singing. Like he wasn't singing around town doing shows or nothing. He could sing, and somebody realized that he could sing, and they grabbed him and put him in the studio. And that's how most people's stories go. You don't have to have a band. Hell, one of the biggest go-go songs ever put out there was not Gogo Lorenzo. He was pretty big too, but Iceberg Slim. Don't touch my
Stereo.
yeah. Don't touch. You know, and he just was the individual. Hell, it might make it easier, to be honest with you, because again, it's just the one person that you got to focus on instead of the 10 people standing across the front line.
Right, exactly. Well, so I want to get to some questions. Tabby Bidet, my good friend and client, wants to know, did you all, well, let me also say DC music legend here.
Yeah.
Did you all ever release a song through Uptown?
First, what's up, Tabby Benet? You played with us at the Night of Elegance, I want to say 2008, maybe. Man, you got up on our stage and killed it. Yeah, we did. We put out Lock It. So we had Lock It on the shelf when we signed with Uptown MCA. And One of the problems with signing with them was they don't know what's good and what's not because they don't know nothing about go-go. So it became a little thing as to like what's good. And so we said like this song Lock It is good. Like let's put this out. And they was like, nah, we don't hear it. We don't like it. And so we argued for about a year. Finally, they said, look, if you want to put it out, you know, put it out yourself, right? Go ahead and do your thing. And so we put it out ourselves and it sold 40, 50,000 copies just right immediately. I mean, Lock It was an instant hit. So then they took the position, hey, we're going to put this in a movie. We're going to put it out. We're going to let Herbie Lovebug remix it. So, because they can't let it be a hit without them having done something, or else how do they get to stand up and take the credit, right? So they re-released Lock It. Herbie Lovebug did a mix on it, and I did a little, I mean, just me being arrogant. I did another rap, but really my rap was just talking about how stupid this was that, you know, Herbie Lovebug got to come and remix it. So, yeah, the answer is yeah, we put out Lock It a second or a third time with a Herbie Lovebug remix.
Gotcha. Dr. Stripes wants to know, do you think the key to go-go going beyond DC is to have singers like you have with familiar faces?
Absolutely. Or rappers like Los for Backyard, or it just has to be a personality, man. Like, it just has to be a personality. I don't know what Lil Jon is. He just makes noises on the record, but he's interesting. You know, whatever works. I think that it makes it easy when it's the singer because since the beginning of the time, people are used to great singers. And Jill Scott did a great job on top of go-go, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be rap. You know, it could be a rapper on top of go. Go-go is the greatest. Don't forget that. Go-go is the greatest beat ever.
Yeah, I think it's the most dynamic form of music ever invented.
Yeah, I mean, I love reggae, I love salsa, but ever. And whatever you put on top of it, if you're organized, but a singer would be my choice, like
Right.
familiar faces singers.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Who do we have next? Pieces of Me says, JayZ is older and he's still rapping. Why can't you do it for Go-Go? And while you're telling that, why don't you tell the story about Overnight Scenario, how that happened?
Well, JayZ is a billionaire, so that's the biggest difference between me and JayZ. Then he's married to, listen, JayZ created himself when he was 20, and he kept on, and he had success the whole time, like Common, you know, like a few other people, you know, and so it's different. They were in front of the world as 20-year-olds, and so it's different. They didn't get introduced. So like if we had a hit today, the world would be meeting me at 55 years old trying to be a rapper. So it's just different. JayZ, somebody said to me, hey, JayZ stole your song. And I'm like, what you talking about? Overnight Scenario, man. He stole that. And I didn't really pay it no attention because people all the time say, you know, this song sounds like that song. And it's very difficult as a writer to come up with something, you know, some original concept, you know. And so I just thought it was something similar. But then when I finally heard it, like, oh shit, this really is my song. And then he had come on radio in DC because it was the first single off of his album, and he'd come on radio in DC, and Tigger asked him about it, and he's like, well, yeah, I you know, my manager is from the area, and he let me hear this Rare Essence tape, and I got it from Rare Essence, and you know, so what? Because they steal stuff all the time. And I mean, he was right on all accounts. We do take stuff, and he did take stuff. And ultimately, Rare Essence sued him. And if I had more time, I'd explain that that's how I ended up. You know, that's how I ended up leaving Rare Essence, because ultimately it was a publishing issue, and I wasn't a part of their publishing company. And when they reminded me of that, I said, you know, you're right, and I gotta go build my own house, and that's how I ended up leaving the band.
Gotcha. So you would have had to sue him additionally on the songwriter side because they were only suing
It's only
for.
where this is concerned, it's only publishing.
Yeah.
Publishing is, you know, publishing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can be the songwriter. Publishing is everything. I mean, you know that, Malachi.
Yep. Yep.
Publishing is everything. And they were right. I wasn't a part of their publishing company.
Right. Well, the
Uh,
good news is that these days the money, and well, at least until a month ago, the money in the music industry has flipped around. Like when I started putting Mambo Sauce together, it was all about publishing. That's where the money came from. It was residual
mhm.
income. That's where the lion's share of the revenue in the recorded music industry was coming from. And now it's flipped around with streaming, and now where the money is live. And in my opinion, that's where go-go is the best out of any other kind of music, but you still have to have some kind of content to present to people so that they will, you know, there's some demand created. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, just so there's no confusion, I want to see go-go on a higher level. That's the whole reason I'm doing these talks. And I think that, you know, if we can figure out how to get, like you said, content that is presented in a way that Joe Blow in Michigan will understand it, go-go bands can tour and, you know, like get to the point, because it's just, you can't replicate it. You can, it's one thing to create in the studio, but you can't replicate that, you know, that live experience. And I'm telling you, like, you know, when I had Mambo Sauce, like, we used to play for a bunch of people that looked like me, who you would not really expect to, you know, react to go-go, and they would lose their effing mind. You know what I mean? And I've never seen any person of any nationality that stands in front of a go-go band that doesn't move and start dancing. It's almost impossible. You know what I'm saying? So it's just frustrating to me that there's only a couple of little things that need to be tweaked in order to make that happen. And it just doesn't seem like we can get out of our own way to make it happen. So anyway, okay, I'm off my soapbox for a minute. Let's see. Let's see. What's your all-time favorite song that you recorded with Essence? Learning with Gogo wants to know.
What would you do for the money?
Uh-oh. Got a
What
audio.
would you do for the money? You would think it's one of my crazy rowdy songs, but really, I always wanted to be Stevie Wonder type. I always wanted to write, you know, serious, provoking
Did you?
songs.
Sorry, Donnell, to interrupt. Did you do something with your audio or something? You sound really thin right now. Is there? Can everybody else hear him? Can you hear him, or are other people having problems with the sound too? Yeah, you sound really tinny or something. Uh-oh.
How's it sound now? It's still okay?
Yeah, it still sounds the same. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yeah, other people are saying the same thing.
I don't know what to do.
Are you on your Wi-Fi? You're on
I
your
am.
Wi-Fi, right? And you have your uh, I should be. I probably don't need to tell you this. You work for Verizon. You probably know more about the shit than I do. But yeah, everybody's saying they can hear you, but it's hard to understand what you're saying. I don't know what happened.
What do you suggest? Log out, log back in.
I think. Hold on one second. I think. Yeah. I think everybody. We're gonna log off and then come right back on again, just so we can get this taken care of. We'll be right back. All right. Let's start over.